Two bros chilling in the hot tub.
You the twos and we the ones? Well, you are the biggest two of them all, my dog. That's what you are. You are a giant number two.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Two Bros Podcast. As always, I am Bryce, and I am joined by...
A very depressed Packers fan.
Hey, you shouldn't be as depressed as this Colts fan over here. But anyways, we are in week 16. There are 3 weeks left, so we're going to talk about some notable injuries because my, this might have been the most notable week for player injuries. And we've had weeks involving Daniel Jones getting hurt. But first one is this one has really no effect on the rest of the year because they were eliminated on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL and he's out for the year and potentially the start of next year. What does this mean? Not this year, but next year for the Chiefs.
This actually is probably the best case scenario for the Chiefs. With Patrick Mahomes going down, they're going to have no choice but to start Gardner Minshew. That means they're going to lose games. They're going to drop potentially the rest of their games, which, we'll talk about that later on. But this could lead to them getting a guy like Jeremiah Smith or Jeremiah Love.
They're going to draft Jeremiah Love.
This could lead to them getting a top 15 pick, which could be deadly for the rest of the NFL.
Yeah. I agree. This obviously does nothing for the rest of the year. They got eliminated after they lost on Sunday anyways, so Patrick Mahomes playing would have made them, 9-8, and they would have got a really good draft pick. They probably would have been the first or second team out of the playoffs in the AFC. But yeah, no, I agree. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing because we don't know what the Chiefs are going to look like next year because the Chiefs will look drastically different next year regardless. I think that they're going to do a massive rehaul. I just want to say something. I think that this officially ends the GOAT debate between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady, in his prime, never got eliminated from the playoffs. He never won less than 12 games either.
I don't think there ever was a debate, to be honest. There was a lot of Chiefs Glazers that thought there was a debate, but in my opinion, there wasn't.
Yeah. Next, we have, this one is sad for you. It affects, not really has a massive effect because the Packers are good, but Micah Parsons tore his ACL, and he's out for the year, and I think he'll be back by the start of next year. I think he will.
I believe he will as well. The reason why I think his will be earlier than Mahomes is because Mahomes tore his ACL and his LCL. So there are 2 injuries to rehab on top of, Micah Parsons being a little bit younger and having 1 injury. I do think this affects the Packers no matter what. Mm-hmm. Micah Parsons is a game changer. He's a generational talent. Losing a player like that, no matter how good your team already is an effect. So, of course, hoping for Parsons to heal up fast, but this is going to affect the team massively.
I don't know, because their defense, and they were already really solid without him. It's kind of like Kevin Durant going to the Warriors. They didn't need him, but it was an added luxury. I do think they'll be fine. Micah Parsons obviously adds a layer of pass rushing that no other player can really give them because Micah Parsons, as you said, is a generational pass rusher. Myles Garrett isn't this good. TJ Watt isn't this
I disagree.
good.
I think Myles Garrett's the best pass rusher in the league.
I disagree. You have him getting quadruple teamed and still have 21.5 sacks.
He does get triple teamed.
Yeah, well, he's also the only elite pass rusher on the team. So he's the only pass rusher on the team, so he's going to get all the sacks. But I think it's between him and Micah Parsons that are the two, but I do think Micah Parsons is the best pass rusher in the entire NFL. Sorry, Max Crosby. Sorry, Aiden Hutchinson. Sorry, Myles Garrett. Micah Parsons is better than all of them. But next we have Davante Adams left the game early, and he's dealing with a hamstring issue, and his status for Thursday's game is up in the air. What does this do
Um,
for the Rams if he
this
has to
might
miss
be
Thursday?
the least meaningful injury we've seen yet, just because the Rams still have Puka Nacua. It would be very different if Puka was still hurt, but
I mean, he's
Puka
the best.
Nacua.
He's the best red zone touchdown receiver in the NFL right now. So
I
it is
agree.
a
I'm
big.
just saying I think the Rams are not as desperate as a team like Green Bay is to lose a star like that. So I think that in the end of the day, this will not affect them nearly as much as other teams losing their players.
Well, yeah, I agree. It's not as huge. I think it's still a big loss because they're gonna miss that big red zone threat that they had this whole year. That's one of the reasons why they've been as good as they have is because of Devontae Adams. But next, we're gonna move on to another Packer slash former Packer. And Christian Watson is dealing with a chest injury. He left the game early, but he'll be okay. He's not expected to miss any more time. As a Packers fan, though, I imagine that you're worried every time that man touches the field.
I think for me, I just think about a lot about how the Packers refused to trade him when it came to getting Jonathan Taylor, who, no matter how bad he's been the past 2 weeks, he's still an MVP candidate. I love
Mm-hmm.
Christian Watson as a Packers fan. I think he is a very talented receiver, but you have to look at the fact that he cannot stay healthy. He
Yeah.
barely stays on the field. The fact that Romeo Dobbs has had to kind of become their de facto number one
And
when he
Jaden Reed
really
just
is
came back too.
Jaden
So
Reed, but Romeo Dobbs is more of a number two. What really frustrates me with this is when the idea of Christian Watson goes down, why do we not slate in Matthew Golden more? Now, I know Matthew Golden's hurt, but when Christian Watson was out for earlier this season, LaFleur really just let him sit and let Matthew Golden kind of be a gadget guy when we already have a really good gadget guy in Jaden Reed. So
it's true.
I think
Well,
there's
even then, Jaden Reed was missed most of the year. He got hurt week 2, and Matthew Golden still didn't touch the field. He didn't.
So I think this Christian Watson sadly is going to be a guy, in my opinion. I'm not saying he's on the same level, but as a Christian McCaffrey, he is a luxury to have because you're not sure how often you're going to have him on the field. But when he's on the field, he is outstanding for your team.
And now we're going to stay in the NFC North because Luther Burden left the game and he's dealing with an ankle injury, and his status for Saturday's game is uncertain. And they're already missing Roma Dunze with a broken foot. So that means Alameda Zacchaeus may get a lot of
Well,
touches.
him and DJ Moore.
Yeah, him and DJ Moore will get pretty much all the receiver touches.
This is a receiver injury that I do find to be important for them this season. Of course, him and Odunze are their guys moving forward. We've seen that Luther Burden has kind of made DJ Moore a little obsolete on this team. The fact that DJ
Yeah.
Moore has barely done anything, I honestly could look at him and seeing him as a trade candidate this offseason to a team like the Bills, a team like the Steelers who need an elite talent or another elite talent.
Hmm.
But Luther Burden is a guy who it hurts to watch him go down. Even as a Packers fan, I respect how good of a player he is. Such a good deep threat and has really reliable hands.
Yeah.
Someone Caleb Williams is going to miss tremendously if he doesn't
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, I agree. This is a guy who they drafted what, second, or was he their first round? Was he their first round or
He was their
second
first
round
round
pick this
pick.
year? That's right. So they've spent high draft picks on two first round receivers the last 2 years, both of which are hurt right now, and DJ Moore is starting to show signs of regression. So this is not good for a team that is trying to make a big time playoff push to have your number one receiver still being good, but not at the level that we've seen him play in the past few years. And then Alameda Zacchaeus, if he's good, but if he has to be your number two receiver, you're in trouble. Next, we're gonna go to a running back injury because Bam Zonovan Knight left the game with a bad ankle sprain after one carry for -2 yards, and he has already been put on IR, meaning his season is coming to an end. Their running backs right now are Amari DiMercado and Michael Carter, and they also have Tavion Feaster, I think, who's the rookie that is probably going to play meaningful snaps for them.
Yeah, this team, it's just decimated with injuries all over. I mean, from the fact that you've had Marvin Harrison Jr. on and off this season. Your starting quarterback, Kyler Murray's out for the year.
Oh no,
You
their
lost
starter is playing right now.
you lost James Conner for the year. You
Trey
lost
Benson for the year.
Trey Benson for the year. Trey McBride has dealt with injuries. I mean, you look at this offense and see how it's completely decimated. It's honestly even a question how they're even in games at all. But this, sadly, they're already eliminated. This has no effect on them at all.
Yeah.
I think Xavier Knight was not a game changer in the first place. So to lose him it's not nearly as important as losing a guy like James Conner.
No. Or Trey Benson, because Trey Benson had questionable issues coming into the year where we didn't see much, and then he was the guy for half a game, and then he got hurt and was out for the rest of the year. Zonovan Knight did an admirable job, but Michael Carter, Amari DiMercado, and Zonovan Knight are not guys that you want to be your starting running back in 2025. Granted, Michael Carter has the potential, but Zonovan Knight had that 2 game stretch with the Jets back in 2021. And then Amari DiMercado is just a specialist slash big play guy. So, yeah, if they're getting meaningful snaps, your season's over. And now, talking about another guy whose season's over, the Commanders did the right thing and shut Jaden Daniels down for the rest of the year due to his lingering elbow issue. Obviously, it does nothing for this season, but what does it do for the long-term outlook for Jaden Daniels?
This is something they should have done weeks ago. I
Yeah, he
understand you
shouldn't have
want
come
to
back at
fight for
all.
your season. I totally get it. I mean, you were in the NFC Championship last year, and then you were really fighting to make the playoffs, but you had to look at the battle you had to face. You were not going to take a wild card spot. Your only chance was to overtake the Eagles, and it just was so unrealistic. They should have 110% let Jaden Daniels sit for the rest of the year, let him rest up, let Marcus Mariota earn himself a contract from another team who thinks they're a QB away. Um, it it's just sad to see the kind of the mismanagement of Jaden Daniels. You're watching, I don't want to say it, but it feels like RG3 all over again. Making him play when he really should not be. I think Jaden Daniels is a better player than we watched RG3 be, but this is scary. If it's not managed well, we could see his career end super early like RG3's.
The good thing about this, though, is they said there was no actual structural damage, so he's going to make a full recovery. Which the injury on when he got hurt, it didn't really look as bad as people are making it out to be. Yes, he fell on his arm and he hurt his elbow more, but his elbow was already in pain.
It was a
So
re-injury. It didn't
So yeah,
create an
so
injury.
it's not like it created a new one. It was a re-injury of an injury that was already there, and he was still dealing with. So it's not like it is going to. It's an injury like RG3 that it was an actual his knee healed up and then he got hurt again. No, he was still dealing with an injury in his arm, which is significantly less of an issue than an RG3 situation where it was an ACL tear 3 years ago and then 3 years before and then you tear it again, the same knee. It was He'll be fine, but the Commanders need to think about what they can do to make Jaden Daniels last as their franchise quarterback because we've seen the Commanders at the top of their game. And Jaden Daniels, if he's healthy, he can fix all of the defensive issues that they had in 2024. Because let's be honest, this team needs a lot. They don't really need much help on offense. They need all kinds of help on defense because this defense is just bad.
Well, all their stars are ancient. You have Bobby Wagner and Von Miller manning your linebacker core.
We're probably going to be gone.
Both are going to retire easily,
Yeah.
for sure.
Alrighty, next we're going to talk about some Week 15 games because the first one we're going to talk about is Atlanta versus Tampa Bay. This was the Thursday Night Football game last week in which the Bucks had a 14-point lead. They were ahead 28-14, and they ended up losing 29-28. Now, the big issue with this is not how the game ended. That is not how the game ended. That's not as big of an issue. The issue is when Todd Bowles calls out every single one of his players directly after the game ends in a press conference. And I think this just sealed Todd Bowles' job. It just ended Todd Bowles' tenure as the Bucks coach.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. No matter what, even if this team makes the playoffs, he's gone. We've seen nothing
Yeah.
but mediocrity of this team, and it kind of surprises me that the discourse is anti-Baker Mayfield right now. Everyone is talking about Baker Mayfield being at fault. Yes, he threw an interception; it was costly, but you
He's
have to look at how awful the time management was on Todd Bowles' part. How he has not been able make this defense look anything like it was because he was always a defensive coach. Everyone
mhm.
looked at him as this defensive guru under what was it, Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
Like this
He said
100%
focus on the
means
defense.
he needs to be fired. Honestly, I said this a year ago, I think that they should have fired him and moved Liam Cohen up to the head coach. And now we're seeing what Liam Cohen is doing with the Jazz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the Bucks were staple with all their injuries last year. Because you know why? They
Their
had Liam
offense.
Cohen as their OC, and they don't have him anymore. He's gone.
I would not
He's
be surprised if both their OC and him are fired. I feel for the defensive coordinator because honestly, he's holding his own.
he is. Baker's so good, and
Baker is doing everything he can. This OC should be fired along with Todd Bowles. Baker did not have a bad game at all. He had a bad pass, yes, but not a bad game.
yeah. And speaking of Liam Cohen, we're going to talk about this game because my, this was, I think, the game that every Trevor Lawrence supporter in 2025 has been waiting for. Trevor Lawrence threw for 330 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks, and then ran for another rushing touchdown. You and I were talking about the Jags, and yesterday, I believe?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah. And you said that this is a team that if you're in the AFC, you don't want your team to face. And quite frankly, I agree with it. What are your
Yeah, the
takeaways from this
Jags.
game alone?
I have to give Trevor Lawrence a lot of credit. You and our friend Iffy have been the first few people to hear that I think Trevor Lawrence is very overrated as a quarterback. And the past 5 games of the season, he has shut my mouth and wholeheartedly. Like he has proven the hype he had coming out of college. And I really have to give credit to Liam Cohen. And I have to give credit to this offensive line they have. We are
Yeah.
watching what he can do if he has genuine amounts of time and he has real receivers to throw to. Look at what he's been since Jacoby Myers has come to this team. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Trevor Lawrence because he has been outstanding, but look at what happens when you give him pieces.
Yeah, and they've even dealt with injuries to Brian Thomas Jr. and then Travis Hunter's out for the year. So we're like, oh, this team's done because they don't have Brian Thomas because he's had his drop issues, and then Travis Hunter has one elite game and then he's out for the year, and then this team stays afloat. And then they get Jacoby Myers at the trade deadline, and this team looks like the most unstoppable team in football. Since their bye week, they are averaging 38 and a half points a game.
They had to be dark horses for the Super Bowl this year. If I am a team like Buffalo or I'm a team like Houston
Or
or even
Denver.
Los Angeles, Denver, I am scared of potentially having to face them in the first 2 rounds. I mean,
Yeah.
and this thing, they're clearly gonna have a home game, which makes you wonder like what what's going to happen if if an what's it called, a lower seed upsets a higher seed and someone has to go to Jacksonville for round two.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
team, you could see the team in the AFC Championship, and honestly, if anyone outside of Buffalo, I think they beat them.
yeah. I think Buffalo is the only team that maybe New England, maybe Denver,
I
maybe
I'm not
one
gonna
of
lie.
those three.
Right now, you have to write
Well,
off New England,
maybe not New England. Yeah, because we saw. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that next.
but I mean,
But
outside of Denver and Buffalo, I'm
true, we're
not sure
gonna.
if there's any team that's as good enough to take down Jacksonville, which
That's
going into
true.
the season sounded crazy to say.
I know. This is Saxonville. Actually, they're not even doing it with their
No,
elite
it's their
defense.
offense.
It's their offense that is winning them games right now. But next, we're going to move on to two teams we just mentioned because we had an AFC East matchup. This was a huge game because this keeps the Bills' AFC East title streak alive. The Bills were down what at half?
21.
21 nothing, and they were down what 24-7 going into the fourth quarter, and they ended up winning 35-21. They outscored the Patriots 28-7 in the fourth quarter. Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the league. He's going to be the best quarterback in the playoffs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you look at Josh Allen, he has put on some absolutely monstrous, legendary performances against the Kansas City Chiefs, who have been his kryptonite. And guess what he doesn't have? He doesn't have his kryptonite in the playoffs. There's no team come playoff time that's going to stop Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. There's
Yeah,
no team.
the one thing the Bills need to do is they need to steal a home game. Um, it sounds like it's gonna be hard to do. I mean, New England has a whole game lead on them. They need to find a way to come out with this home game because Buffalo is really bad at traveling in the playoffs. We've seen it. Of course, they've been traveling to Kansas City most of the time, but I worry about them having an away game, like I said, with Jacksonville or maybe at Denver. It is, in my opinion, outside of Mahomes, it's their other kryptonite. Now,
Yep.
I do think if they go to New England, we've seen them, they can beat New England. If they have to go to, let me see, Pittsburgh, they're going
Denver.
to beat Pittsburgh. I don't know about Denver. We just
Yeah, maybe
watched
not
how
Denver.
they defended their home well, very well against an elite defense. We watched. I mean, they put up 34 on a crazy good defense. So really, I just there see there being like one or two teams they could take down at home. I mean away. So I really think for Buffalo's sake, they need to take the least they need to take a top two seed.
I will say though, if Buffalo can't get out of the AFC, this we need to start having talks about if Sean McDermott can be the coach to get
I
them over
agree.
the hump, because it has been failure after failure after failure after failure, and yes, most of it is due to the fact that Kansas City has been Kansas City. There's no Kansas City excuse this year. That excuse is thrown out the window. It
In my
is.
opinion, if they
If
fire McDermott,
it's the same thing with Baltimore. If Baltimore makes the playoffs and they can't do anything, we have to start having legitimate conversations about John Harbaugh.
I think they should hire Brian Dable.
Yeah. Or Todd Bowles.
No.
Oh, yeah, that's we. It's you could argue that the best football we've seen Josh Allen play is when Brian Dable was their OC.
I don't
I
think he was the
and
fault in New York.
he wasn't. He wasn't. That team is just garbage. Next, we're going to talk about really quick because there wasn't much to this game. We're just going to talk about it because of the fact that Kansas City got eliminated and Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL. But the last drive is really up for question for Kansas City because Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL, goes down. Why do you have Gardner Minshew throwing when they could have kicked the game-tying field goal to send this to overtime?
Part of me thinks that they have watched the regression of Harrison Butker and they're recognizing he is not the insanely accurate, insanely far kicker he used to be. So I think they were thinking, let's get closer. Let's get a little bit closer, another 5 yards. And honestly, that was a terrible ball by Minshew.
It
That
was.
was the easiest interception of Derwin James's career. Either that or Travis Kelce overran the route, but that was an awful pass. Literally
Shouldn't have been
game-killing,
thrown either way.
ferocious pass.
Yeah. Yep. And now we are going to talk about a game that I think surprised a lot of people. It surprised me because you guys heard my score of it last week. But the Indianapolis Colts and Philip Rivers. Well, Philip Rivers looked, all things considered, really good for a guy who had taken 5 years off and had not thrown in an NFL game for 5 years and was 44 years old. Seattle or Indianapolis with 47 seconds left to go kicks a 60-yard field goal to go up 8 or 16 to 15. That in all honesty should be game. But and I got into an argument with with somebody on TikTok, the defense sold at the end of the game. You mean to tell me your quarterback does enough to put you in a position to win the game, and all you have to do is hold a team for 47 seconds, and your special teams also sold by putting them on the 37 to start their drive, meaning they only realistically had to go 15 yards. And you couldn't hold, and I get you didn't have Shavarius Ward, and you didn't have Sauce Gardner, but it should not matter.
No, I agree. And I think we've seen this defense sell multiple times. They sold against the Chiefs, who
Yep.
where Daniel Jones gave them the chance to win. They sold against the Jags a few weeks ago, how they just could not keep themselves in the game.
The
This is
Texans.
the Texans. This is a defensive unit that was really scary to start the year, and I just do not know what's happened to them. After trading for an all-pro,
And giving up two firsts. Two first rounders on top
Bryce,
of
we
that.
are running a little low in time, so we
Okay.
might have to skip two of your notables.
Okay.
Maybe let's jump to the final notable because it's a bit
Okay.
bit more important.
Okay. Green Bay and Denver played, and this is the Micah Parsons ACL tear game. What he gets hurt at in the first half,
The
I
actually
believe.
within the it was about 10 minutes left of the game.
So you could argue this game really came down to the fact that Micah Parsons gets hurt because they were in it pretty much the whole way.
They
And
only lost
then
by
the
eight.
fourth
I
quarter
believe it was
came.
eight.
It was 8 points. They lost by a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. This game, you could argue, had Micah Parsons not have got hurt, would have been a lot different because I think the Packers are in a lot better chance to win if Micah Parsons doesn't get hurt. What are
Yeah,
your takeaways from this game?
I watched the game. My girlfriend and I were hanging out and we watched the game. And one thing I can say is, as much as I love Toyotathon Jordan Love, he did not show up today. Two really costly interceptions, including the one in the final drive that ended it for them. You know, I still have a lot of faith in this team. We'll talk about them about in a minute or so, but
Yeah.
this team needs to figure out their offense because one week their offense looks elite and outstanding, and another week it's anemic. Now I understand it was the Broncos, one of the top five defense in the NFL, statistically actually number one, but you have to be able to beat teams like this because what happens if you face them in the Super Bowl?
Yep. Real fast, I just got a notification on my phone. Terrence Crawford retired from boxing with a 42-0 record
Good
today.
for him.
That's insane. So now we're going to move on to the predictions for next week. But first, we're going to do records for last week in the year. Last week, I went 11-5. Last week, you went 12-4. You had a better record than I did. Meaning, my record for 2025 is 149, 73 and 1. And your record is 121, 101 and 1.
So I'm making a comeback
You're slowly making a comeback,
with
and
three
I
weeks left in the
feel
season.
one of us is going to be dead wrong this week. One of us is going to be dead wrong, and one of us is going to be dead right or
Oh, we
really
made a
good.
lot of different picks, didn't we?
We did. We're going to start with Thursday Night Football between the Rams and the Seahawks. Who do you have winning?
So after the showing we saw from the two teams this week, I have to go with the Rams.
Yeah.
Outplayed the better team in the Lions by far.
I have the Rams winning 20-17 on Thursday Night Football. And now we are officially at the time of the year where we are getting Saturday NFL games, and we are getting the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington Commanders for the first Saturday NFL regular
You know what
season
bothers me
game
about this?
of the year.
I'm gonna be busy all Saturday. I'm heading to the Philly Christmas market, so I'll be missing both of these games. But I have the Eagles winning this game. I think they had a great bounce back game against the Raiders. They're gonna continue momentum and probably put away their division.
Yeah. I have Philadelphia winning 31-6. I do. I think the Raiders game was a real indictment on how good this team could be, considering they were the only team to shut anybody out, and the Bills and the Browns lost 31-3. Next we have Green Bay versus Chicago.
In my opinion, this is still game of the week, but I still have Green Bay winning this game. It's not even because I know I've seen a lot of discourse online saying the Packers season is over. This one TikToker who makes his like QB and at like his QB rooms thing was talking about how the Packers are one of the worst teams in the
Oh,
league.
I know who you're talking about,
Boss
boss.
something. He
Yeah,
was saying how the Packers are just cooked they're going to lose out for the season. I still actually have them.
he's a Bears fan. I think
He's a Lions
no,
fan.
wait, he's a Lions fan. That's right.
So I actually have them winning this game. Green Bay always shows up when they need to against Chicago.
I have Green Bay winning 24-10 because
We
it's
better
still
be right.
Chicago. It's still Chicago.
God, we better
Next,
be
we
right.
have the early Sunday games. We have Tampa Bay versus Carolina.
This is a tough game. I
Winner
had a hard
takes
time
control
picking
of the
this.
division.
I have the Buccaneers winning this just because of the experience factor. I think Baker Mayfield continues his good play we've seen from him, and I think he outplays Bryce Young and that defense to win. Take
I
their
have
division.
Carolina. I have Carolina winning
I knew you were going to
27-20.
pick that.
I have them winning 27-20. Next, we have Minnesota versus the New York Giants.
Okay. I have the Vikings winning here. After beating a significantly better team in the Cowboys last week, I have a hard time watching them fall to the Giants.
And you know the Giants are going to be in a kicker market after they cut Young Leku a few hours ago.
Oh, they cut Young who?
Yeah, they did.
Poor Young
Of course, all this stuff happens after I write my notes. Next, we have the New York Jets versus the
Wait,
New
who'd you
Orleans
pick?
Saints. Oh, I picked Minnesota. I have Minnesota winning 14-10.
A low scoring game.
I have New York. We have the New York Giants versus the New York Jets versus the New Orleans Saints.
New Orleans has proven to be a better team than we thought, so I'm going to go with the Saints here.
Yeah, I have the Saints winning 30-10.
Damn.
Next, we have Cincinnati versus Miami.
This is actually a harder game, so I really had a hard time picking this one. I have to go with the Dolphins just because they are the better team overall.
Yeah, I have Miami winning 23-10. I do think the Bengals are going to sit Joe Burrow the rest of the way. I do think they are, now that they're eliminated from playoff contention. But next we have Kansas City versus Tennessee.
Even though there's no Mahomes, I still have Kansas City winning this game. I think they have more pride, and I think their defense is better than the Titans offense. So I'm gonna go with Kansas City here.
I have Tennessee winning 21-13. I do.
I am quite excited for Tom Grossi's if the NFL is scripted this week because I just think it's gonna be fantastic.
Next we have the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Another really tough game, in my opinion, a very underrated game we're gonna get, but I have the Chargers continuing momentum. They beat
Yeah.
a team, in my opinion, who is almost unbeatable at home. So I think they're gonna take down the Cowboys, who are slumping big time right now.
I have the Chargers winning 27-23.
Another
But
very
next
close one.
we have Buffalo versus Cleveland.
Buffalo just beat a top five team in the NFL. I have a hard time seeing them
Top
dropping
three team in the NFL.
top three team. So I have Buffalo winning this pretty
I
soundly.
have Buffalo winning 28-10. Next we're going to move on to the afternoon Sunday games because we have Atlanta versus Arizona.
I have Arizona winning this. I really like the offense they have running with Jacoby Brissett, so give me the Arizona Cardinals here.
Although if we get another Kyle Pitts legacy game,
Well, that's true. If we get another Coppets, but they're not facing the Bucks, so
I do have Arizona winning as well, but I have them winning 20 to
Kirk
17.
Cousins isn't playing the Bucks, so it's not gonna
Next
happen.
we have Jacksonville versus Denver.
We haven't heard your blowout of the week yet.
I don't really think I have one. All of
But
them are semi close.
I actually picked an upset here. I have Jacksonville taking this game. I love the offense they have, and I think they are gonna potentially steamroll through this Broncos defense.
I have Denver winning. I think their defense is going to stay the best defense of the league, and they're finally going to slow the Jacksonville Jaguars down. I have them winning 21 to
You
17.
need that to happen.
Next, we have the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Houston Texans.
Since you don't have a blowout of the week, I'll pick one. This is going to be my blowout of the week. The Texans are going to win 37-3.
I have Houston winning 24 to 7. Next, we have Pittsburgh versus Detroit.
So this is going off of pure vibes. We saw Perk Rogers on Monday night, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to do his former team, the Packers, a bit of a favor and take down the Lions this week, helping the Packers playoff hope stay alive.
I have Detroit winning 31 to 27. I do. I have Detroit winning 31 to 27. And now we're going to move on to Sunday Night Football because we have the New England Patriots going into Baltimore to face the Ravens.
This is going to be a very underrated matchup. Baltimore is not a bad team per se, and I think New England is pissed off. I do have the Patriots winning this game, but I think it's going to be a shootout.
I have the Baltimore Ravens winning 27 to 24.
Man, my coworker Ian would be so happy if that happened.
Next, we have the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football facing Phillip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis.
So I'm changing my pick on the fly. I originally had San Francisco winning this. Give me old man Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
Something about what I saw him do the other day. I like it. Give me old man Phillip Rivers.
I have Indianapolis winning 17 to 14, keeping their playoff hopes alive.
Wow.
I do. Anyways, that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.